Next up, I'm heading into Scotland's southwest, into South Ayrshire, to have a look at one of the great relics of one of the most celebrated architects in Scottish history, Robert Adam. He's done a couple of great houses down here. Culzean Castle is by far his most famous work, and it's not so far from here. The Dalwarren Castle, this ruin here, can also be found. It's in a very, very different state of repair, as you can see. But the masonry is intact, the structure is intact. This feels like a building that could still be salvaged, even although, in truth, it has been now desolate for well over 50 years.
We've got to see that, my man. Jamie would love that, he'd be climbing over it. Look at that.
The original Dalwarren Castle is only 500 metres away from here. It's a 15th century ruin. There's very little left of that particular relic. The building that we're looking at the moment is very much from the 18th century, and you can definitely still see the legacy of Robert Adam's work. It's symmetrical in its appearance. It's a stunning building. And also, within the interior, for which he was particularly famed, you can imagine that this one spectacular spiral staircase would really have been something to capture everyone's imagination. This was once the home of the wealthy Kennedy family, but like all families, they go through ups and downs in their own progressive wealth. And when their money ran out, unfortunately, the roof had to come off to avoid taxes, and it has all gone very much downhill since then. Of all the castles and houses on this particular list that I've prepared, I think this place in particular does have the saddest feel, because you can still very much see this is a stunning building. So much could be done to preserve it. It's not gone yet. It could still be salvaged. And for that reason, I hope that it doesn't stay in this state for the rest of time. Let me take you now to perhaps the most unnerving and chilling location that you could possibly find in Scotland. This place, Lennox Castle, is a former asylum, so it's absolutely set up to be the ultimate haunted house. This was not a happy place. Lots of the residents who were being treated here were mistreated, they were abused. There's even claimed that some may have been murdered by the sadistic overseers. The castle was built in the 1830s, but it was not until 1936 that it became the dreaded psychiatric institute for which it is now known and has now become infamous. It was intended to be a top-class facility, and it could house up to 1,200 patients. It was going to be one of the best in Europe. However, the medical service did not foresee the world war that was on its way, and as a result, things never quite went the way that it was desired. From the accounts that I've been reading about, it sounds as if this place was much more of a prison than a hospital. It really does sound incredibly sick, what some of these people had to go through. And as a result, the current ruin has all of that atmosphere and that sense of dread that people who do enjoy the Halloween thrills could not possibly get enough of. And you can find Lennox Castle to the northwest of Glasgow. It's quite a distance outside of the city limits, and it is in a remote and rural location. There's not much around apart from, bizarrely, Celtic Football Club's training facility. So you have to wonder if those guys who've been training there for some time are aware of the history and significance of this place that has in actual fact only been abandoned in the last couple of decades.
Imagine buying something like that and redoing it up. Or even just going and refurbishing one bit of it to stay. Technology that
I have to say that my fascination with these old, abandoned, derelict buildings really began earlier this summer here at Cambusnethan and Priory, which I stumbled upon largely by accident. It's in North Lanarkshire, and I was coming back from a longer distance trip and wanted a quick stop off. And I'm very glad I did, because the Gothic style to this place is really quite haunting. It was built in 1820 for the Lockhart family of Castle Hill by James Gillespie Graham, an architect who designed several similar buildings of this scale in central Scotland during his lifetime. There's a huge porch, there's ornate towers, and there's evidence of a sunken basement as well, so God knows what went on down there. It is largely symmetrical in structure, it's pretty compact, and it's incredibly evocative. In its time, it also served as a hotel, a restaurant, and even a mock medieval banqueting hall. So this was a place of entertainment, probably lots of laughs, but not, as you can see, anymore. And when I was here, by the end of my time, the light was starting to fade, so it was a very brisk walk back to the car, I don't mind telling you. The ruins on this list have unquestionably focused on mansions, giants that remain standing somehow despite the Scottish weather. However, Milkbank House has a bit more of an intimate feel. It feels a bit more like a family home. It was built relatively recently, in around 1895, in that Scots baronial style that I particularly love. It feels very Harry Potter-esque. It's grand, but it's not overly ostentatious. But this place has sat abandoned since 1960 and the departure of the resident Bell Irving family. And I believe, from speaking to some of the locals, that they moved to another residence nearby. You'll find this, by the way, in the far south of Scotland, near Lockerbie, in Dumfries and Galloway. It's not on any maps, it's incredibly difficult to hunt down. When you do, you'll see that it has a natural appeal, and it's not just the trees growing up all around it. They're not just a remote setting, there is a presence about this place, and with Halloween in mind, this place is an absolute cracker. And I'm going to end this journey around these interesting, fascinating and eerie ruins with a trip to somewhere that's been on my hit list for a very long time. Dunalister House in Highland Perthshire is pretty much the epicentre of the Clan Robertson, and being a Robertson myself, this place has special meaning. The Robertsons were always big supporters of the Jacobites, so they had stood by Bonnie Prince Charlie at the Battle of Culloden when he was ultimately defeated. And as a result of that support, the original Clan Robertson base was torched in retribution. What stands now is an 1860s baronial style mansion that gives off so much atmosphere. Again, it's got that Harry Potter feel. There's a tragedy, there's a melancholy, there's the kind of sadness that came, of course, with the Highland clearances as well. That's all seemingly incorporated into this ruin.
I could claim that. You know that?
The ruin can be found near Kinlochrannoch in Highland Perthshire, as I say, not so far away from Pitlochry. But it is a remote spot. It's a beautiful area underneath the watchful eye of Schiehallion Mountain. There's so much history in this land, and that is why this building in particular is my personal favourite. But what is it about these strange, abandoned and derelict places that does it for you? What makes it stand out? Is it the atmospherics, the sense of history, the sense of melancholy, or is it the beautiful architecture and stunning Highland settings? Whatever it may be, I would love to know which ones are your favourites and where you would like to see me head next. But for now, all I can say is, Happy Halloween.